Okay, we're starting Progressive Revelation, Paul's Gospel. And again, it's by David Benjamin. You can get it at christiansneedthegospel.com. And there's also a lot of resources there on that website, along with a lot of other really good books. And the AI little helper, Eleazar, that you can ask questions to that you probably have not been able to get answered by your own pastor if you're still in institutional church. So yeah, let's go. This format is a little bit different. I wasn't able to actually download the book for some reason. It was like a weird format, so I had to go through Kindle. Hopefully it'll work. Okay, so we got Progressive Revelation and Paul's Gospel, Fundamental Bible Truths. And this is book 1. He hasn't done book 2 yet, I don't believe. But yeah. Okay, so I don't need to read that. This is what I wanted. Okay, introduction. In biblical interpretation, the principle of progressive revelation is often overlooked. This principle is critical to understanding the authority and weight of Paul's teaching concerning the life of Christ in believers and how the Christian life is lived. Amen. Failure to understand this principle in the Bible leads to a lack of appreciation for the significance of Paul's teachings and can result in attempts to synchronize law with grace and strike a supposed balance between works and grace throughout the entirety of the Christian life. Amen. To see Christ as our righteousness, sanctification, and reward, and to have a pure doctrine of grace that informs our perspective of these areas of the Christian life, we must understand the content of the revelation given to Paul and why it is authoritative. Amen. The teachings and revelations were imparted to Paul by the ascended Christ. They contain mysteries once hidden, revealing Christ as the embodiment of God and the church as the mystery of Christ, all seen through the lens of progressive revelation. In this short book, we will look into the essence of Paul's ministry, a testimony of Christ that springs from his ascended form after the fulfillment of his commission on earth and his entrance into his heavenly ministry as the head of the body and the high priest according to the order of Melchizedek. Amen. Understanding this progression is not merely academic. It is the key that unlocks a rich, unified understanding of the scriptures and particularly the unique authority and weight of Paul's revelation. Amen. And so I just wanted to do the introduction, and I'll probably start it next Monday. And I just think that this is a really good book to read next because now we get to see exactly, the gospel of reconciliation that was given to Paul and not anyone else. Like as far as the authoritative being the apostle to the Gentiles is what I mean. Paul was chosen by Christ himself, and James was not, okay? And that is one thing that has been very twisted in the institutional fake churches, or as I like to call them, IFCs or IFCSs. Because everybody wants to push the book of James, and it's just a measly little, 2-3 page book. Okay. No, look at what Paul has written. what Paul was revealed by Christ himself to understand and to share. He was given the gospel of reconciliation and of grace, of infinite grace. James didn't know anything about justification by faith alone, apart from works. Because when his book was written, the Acts 15 and the Acts 21 conference had not happened. And that is so important to understand. I've debated on whether or not I was going to keep. At first, I know I said that I wasn't, and I think I don't remember if I said this or not in my last video or not, but I got some really just overwhelming number of comments that just were veiled. That's the best way that I can say it. Completely veiled on James. And, I'm a heretic, I'm this, I'm that, blah, blah, blah. Okay, whatever. What bothers me is that sometimes YouTube does not give me all the comments, and I end up finding them like weeks later, and there's like a thread of fights going on. I mean, I know I'm not saying that nobody is, not supposed to contend for the faith. I'm not saying that, but I mean, it's like arguing with a brick wall. Sometimes you just gotta just be done with it. And that kind of bothers me because I don't want to be ever thought of as, I'm letting the wolves in to my channel and allowed to just basically spew all their crap about how James is an apostle and this and that and blah, 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 and not without any kind of context or not understanding, just because they're stubborn asses and don't want to really do their own research instead of listening to their pulpit puppets and, the parrots that say, James is like, something greater than sliced bread. You know what I mean? And then confuse some of the babes that are on my channel, or who come on my channel. So I'm still praying about it, but I might shut down comments on this, depending. I'm gonna give it a week. See what happens, and because it is stressful. It is very stressful, and I'm being in menopause, and my stress is very high because of my infirmities, with all the ailments that I have, and even just the slightest, even sometimes even excitement, messes me up. So my body is literally allergic to stress. So if I shut it down, please don't be mad at me. I'm doing it for my own good. Okay. My own health. And I know I said that in my, in that video that I did. And that was mainly for comments on, posts. It wasn't so much on the book, but then all of a sudden it just kind of hit all at once on the book. And I couldn't take it anymore. I can't keep up with comments that much. And I don't know how people who have huge, gigantic channels do it. I really don't. I'm very content and happy to have a small channel. So, feel free to share. The Lord gives us the perfect amount of grace to live, right? And that includes, just everyday things that we encounter, and that includes YouTube. So YouTube can be somewhat of a challenge for sure. And I thank God for his grace on just taking care of all of us and not letting it get so far out of whack, so to speak. So anyway, I know I'm kind of rambling. So yeah, this is just the introduction to progressive revelation, and I hope and pray that it blesses you, and we'll jump into it on Monday. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye.